Welcome to the news and why it matters. And for those of you who watched the debate last night, bienvenidos a la news and why it matters. Yo soy Sara Gonzalez. We are joined today by Stu Burgier of the Glenn Beck radio program.
Est-ce que je peux aller au WC?
All right.
Yes.
That means I can't go to the bathroom in French.
That's the only one you know?
It's the only one I can remember from French class. So.
David Harris Jr.
Je m'appelle David. I am American. Can we keep this English here, please?
And Aaron Colin.
I am not bilingual, so nice to be
Hello.
here. Yes.
All right, top story, Stu.
Debate report card. How did the candidates do? Did they do what they had to do last night? We're going to look at that.
Oh, I can't wait. David.
I got a video to show on the debate card, I think, that's hilarious. And then I've also got I want to talk about the fact that the number of incidents and deaths at the border during the Obama-Biden years went without any kind of uproar from the media or politicians, and it's sad.
All right, Aaron.
And I have a story out of Alabama where a woman who was 5 months pregnant was shot and lost her baby, and she has now been charged with manslaughter. So now pro-abortion groups are jumping on that to try to attack pro-life laws.
All right, that sounds really peculiar.
Yeah,
so
it's
I
not
can't
as funny
wait
as the debates.
I can't wait to find out more info on that. Before we get into it, we want to thank our sponsor, American Financing. If you are in the market for a refinance, maybe you just had like a divorce and you got to get your crazy ex-spouse's name off of your home. Whatever the case may be, not that I know anyone like that, but whatever the case may be.
Oddly specific.
American Financing is your go-to. Home loans, refis, whatever it is. They're salary-based, they're not commission-based, so they're not going to be in it for them. You know, they're not looking for the kickbacks from the financial institutions. They want to do something that's right for you, that's going to fit your family, that's going to fit, you know, your budget. I know Stu had a really great experience with them. They walked you through everything.
Yeah, they're great people to deal with and make the whole process really easy. And as you said, they're not looking to, like, you know, direct you in, you know, one place or the other based on what's gonna do for them. They just want to do the right thing for you.
I do remember the first time I bought a house, and there's so many papers, and I was scared to ask questions because I'm gonna sound really stupid. Right. And they're explaining everything to me, and I'm like, yeah, oh, okay, great.
You just look confident, and then you just keep signing your initials, and you realize you're just signing your life away.
Yeah. But you can ask them the questions. They're not gonna make you feel stupid about anything. You can go to AmericanFinancing.net, or you can call 800-906-2440. A lot to get into with the debates.
There was. So let's start with Elizabeth Warren. There's a question asked about her and abortion, and I found her answer to be very typical of the Democratic Party. So we get a little kind of set the scene here as to what kind of candidates we're looking at. Watch.
Senator Warren, would you put limits on any limits on abortion?
I would make certain that every woman has access to the full range of reproductive health care services, and that includes birth control, it includes abortion, it includes everything for a woman.
So no, she would not put any limits on abortion. You know, it's funny because you look at this from all the different candidates' perspectives, and they all have different things to do here. If we're going to grade them on policy, we probably at this table would all give them Fs. So I tried not to just do that. I tried to look at it. How did they execute the thing they needed to do? The thing Elizabeth Warren needed to do was to not screw up. She could be invisible. She didn't have to do anything in this debate. She's in third place. There's no one else on the stage that's anywhere close to her. No other front runners. No one ahead of her. She just needed to hold her ground. And it's answers like that, sadly, in today's Democratic Party that actually achieve that goal. I thought she did what she had to do last night. She was not spectacular. She's not going to launch herself in. I gave her a C+ for the evening. Nothing spectacular, but she didn't screw up where she needed to be, I think, as far as her performance in the race. Again, would be a terrible, horrible president. But that's a whole different standard that I did not grade them on. Next up, I want to show another clip. This one was about healthcare, and it shows this is basically the spectrum of this entire debate last night. As you look at healthcare, it was really the only place where they tried to draw any distinctions from each other. So this is, you're going to see it's de Blasio, Beto, and Delaney all kind of fighting with each other. Watch.
Would you replace private insurance?
No, I think the choice is fundamental to our ability to get everybody care for.
Private insurance is not working for tens of millions of Americans. When you talk about the co-pays, the deductibles, the premiums, the out-of-pocket expenses, it's not working. How can you defend a system that's not working?
they can choose Medicare. For the culinary workers in Nevada who I listen to, who negotiated for those plans,
for people.
they're able to keep them.
Why are you defending private insurance?
Say they like their private health insurance, by the way. It should be noted that 100 million Americans, I mean, I think we should be the party that keeps what's working and fixes what's broken. I mean, doesn't that make sense? I mean, we should give everyone in this country health care as a basic human right for free. Full stop.
It's amazing because, like, if you're not careful, you think John Delaney actually sounds sane just because of the people he's surrounded by. However, I mean, his position is left of, I mean, where Obamacare was by a mile, right? Yeah. So you kind of you can lose it pretty quickly. It's, that Overton window moves fast. But so you have three people here. I mean, Bob Frank O'Rourke had a terrible night. I gave him a D, a solid D. He did not do well. He, attempted the whole Spanish thing, which maybe we can get into a little bit later, which is kind of a disaster. But you notice here that, like, he's actually saying, okay, well, we're going to give basically health care to everybody, but at least if people want to keep, in theory, their private health care, they can do it. De Blasio, on the other hand, I think, like, my initial reaction to de Blasio is he's basically taking away 100 million people's private insurance in that clip. And also he's like the logic there is pathetic, right? Like, he himself is saying tens of millions are unhappy, but there's 100 million people who have it. Yeah. Well, what about those 70, 80, 90 million who actually do like it? Well, we need to take it away to what? Prove a point? He's a disaster. However, I will say this. He played the strategy right, I think. He's an absolute zero in this race, but no one even knows the guy is running. He was interrupting constantly, and he went to every single person, including Elizabeth Warren's left. I think if you could find Bernie Sanders on that stage with him at another future debate, he will go to the left of Bernie too. That is his goal. He has no conscience. He'll trot out his son to earn political points, which he does later in the debate. I think, though, with this crowd, he actually did his job in that debate. So I actually gave him a B minus, which was, I mean, again, he'd be a terrible president. I would give him an F on that one.
Can I, just before we move on from healthcare, because it just, I mean, that's my passion, right?
Yes.
Which is really sad. Like, who has the passion of health insurance?
Well, it's a basic human right.
It's true. I just exposed my inner nerd. But why are they talking about healthcare as if they weren't the ones who passed an overhaul of the entire system and got us into this mess?
Thank you.
I mean, they're like, our health insurance and healthcare is so terrible. We need to change it. Well, why would we put the same people in charge of changing it that just screwed it up in the first place?
Exactly. In fact, you look at what they talk about most, the overwhelming topic, the number one topic for Democratic candidates is healthcare. It's like, it's your freaking system.
Exactly.
You just launched it. It's like brand new.
Called Obamacare.
Yeah, and that is like, it's infuriating to me that they would ever be trusted with something like this. Also, we had Delaney in that debate, and a lot of people don't know who John Delaney is. He's been running since 2017 for president.
Wow.
You would hope for better name recognition.
Yes, you'd hope to do better. He's been all over Iowa. He's really put the effort in, and without much success. I will say, like, a lot of the people who are conservatives pointed him out as like, okay, I mean, out of all of them, he was the least offensive. He's a guy who will actually say socialism is bad, right? Like,
and get booed for it.
And get booed for it.
Wow.
But I thought he generally did his job. I don't know that he broke out, and I think, like, the things that conservatives like about him are the things that are going to hurt him in the Democratic primary, right? He did have a couple good exchanges, like the one we just showed. I gave him a C. He was sort of middle of the pack. Going through some of the other ones, there was another big back and forth that's too long to show between Tulsi Gabbard and Tim Ryan. Again, two more people that most people have absolutely no name awareness of. Tulsi Gabbard actually had the highest Google search during this debate, which is kind of interesting. People didn't know who she was. And, she sort of stands out, kind of a good-looking female and had kind of some viewpoints that were a little bit different than the others. Got in an argument with Ryan about foreign policy where, I mean, again, like, policy-wise, you might look at and say Tim Ryan was right. Like, we do have to make sure that the Taliban does not get control of this region again. However, Gabbard, I mean, destroyed him in the back and forth. And certainly with that audience who all want to pull out of everything, as soon as possible. I thought Gabbard did herself a lot of favors last night. She was, she shows that she's, her presentation is smart and sort of balanced, and she doesn't seem like a lunatic. And she was willing to stand. She's very much against intervention in almost every single circumstance, despite being a veteran. So I thought she did very well and raised her profile. She did what she needed to do in this debate, which was come from absolutely nowhere to at least let people know that she has something. Yeah. She was noticed. So I gave her actually an A-, which was one of the best grades I gave. And on the other side of that argument was Ryan, and he lost very badly, and I gave Ryan an F. He looked nervous the entire time. He tried to distinguish himself as a moderate, and it just doesn't work in this field. It doesn't. Jay Inslee is a governor from Washington, Mr. Climate guy. Tried to come up with, he called Trump the biggest threat to our country, which ahead of climate change, which I thought was going to wipe out the entire population. So I don't know how it was bigger than nuclear war, bigger than China, bigger than Russia. Trump did not distinguish himself, talked less than everyone else in the debate.
Yeah, it was like 5 minutes, I think.
And
I'd be pissed if I was Jay Inslee, though.
I guess I would be pissed too, but he sucks. Let's be honest.
He's terrible. If I were him, though, I'd be like, nobody knows who I am. Yeah. I need the talk time. You get 5 minutes.
He had a couple good canned lines he tried to get out, but that never works in these debates. I don't know why they always try it. I gave him a D-, so not so good there. The one I would say I disagree with most people about, I'd love to get your takes on this, was Cory Booker. Cory Booker, I would say, generally speaking, from pundits, left and right, got pretty solid reviews. Like, they thought he was one of the people who stood out, that he did a good job. I thought he was really bad.
I thought it was horrible.
Yeah, you thought so?
Yeah, I thought it was just ridiculous.
Yeah, look, his viewpoints I'm never going to agree with him, but there's something about him that is so contrived.
Yes.
Everything he says, I feel like I've seen him in front of the mirror doing it.
He's got the wide-eyed thing going, heavy emotion all the time, and I think we see it as like, wow, that's really fake, but I think his constituents see that as pure emotion and compassion and things like that, and he's on the verge of tears like at every second. To me, that's just like overwhelming, and I want no part of that.
He had a lot of makeup on.
Did he?
He was a whole other shade or 2, 3 shades.
I did not notice that.
Was trying to make it.
Are you accusing Cory Booker of blackface during
he was trying to blackface it a little bit. He was definitely trying to darken himself up, but it was just kind of interesting to me. And then the whole Spanish thing.
Oh God, that was bizarre too. We're going to show some of these clips I think here in a second. A couple more. So I gave Booker a C-, by the way. I thought he was. Booker and Klobuchar both had chances to maybe make some noise. They're the secondary tier. They had a chance to maybe step up to that lower first tier area. I didn't think Cory Booker did. A lot of people did think that. Klobuchar, I think the same thing. Klobuchar is a little different. I don't think she's going to win the nomination. I do think she has a chance at vice president. I think if let's say Biden were to win, she'd be a very rational choice for vice president. And I think one of her roles is she's sort of in the Warren category that don't screw it up. Like, she doesn't need to make a huge splash right now. She'll probably be able to hold on through these next series of debates. I think she basically did her job. I gave her a C+. She was not notable. She also did try a couple bad canned lines, and they did not work, which they never do. And then, as much as, and this is a bizarre one because Julian Castro, honestly, I thought, I don't think is a good candidate, but I gave him an A for the debate, and here's why.
Wow.
I thought we've talked about this a million times on the show, the ability for the Democrats to outdo themselves when it comes to identity politics, I thought really stood out here. Every one of these other guys, all these white guys are trying to speak Spanish. Every time they brought up immigration,
including Cory Booker.
Including Cory Booker, yes, which was the whitest of the bunch.
Everyone, I can say that.
That's true, yes, you can. Including, when they're talking about immigration, they kept ceding, if you notice, to Julian Castro. And again, Julian Castro is a guy at 0 or 1% in these polls. And they were like, I agree with Julian here because, he's right. We need to make sure that we do these things. They were so deferential because he's the only Hispanic on stage. Wow. Therefore, they can't say
Excuse me, Robert Francis.
Well, yes, that's Bob Frank O'Rourke, of course, very Hispanic.
I like Bob Frank.
And Castro, in the one back and forth, he kind of picked, you could see from the beginning, he said, I'm on a ladder. I'm not going to try for Warren, who's 6 or 7 rungs up. The guy 1 rung up on my ladder, I'm identifying as Beto O'Rourke. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to take out this guy who's at 4 or 5% and try to suck up some of that percentage to move myself up just a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I think he did that well. He won with the back and forth with O'Rourke pretty easily. O'Rourke is terrible. He did his job. He didn't make any mistakes. He looked calm, and I think he was one of the people you'd walk in there and see that, I don't know who 7 of these people are. I've never seen them before. He's one you might say, I want to see a little bit more of him if you're a Democrat. I thought he did his job, and the fact that they were treating him like he was the front runner gave him sort of an air of, maybe maybe that's the guy at 3 or 4% in the polls, not just 0 or 1. So I think Castro had the best night, but Castro and Gabbard I thought were the two biggest winners.
We do have to take a break, but before we do that, I want to, and David, we're going to get to your video after the break, but I do want to show a video our friend Jason Howerton put together of just kind of some highlights of the Democrats trying to out-pander each other. Watch.
Cada persona en nuestra democracia. Cada votante necesitamos la representación y cada voz necesitamos escuchar.
La situación ahora es inaceptable. Este presidente ha atacado, ha demonizado los inmigrantes. Es inaceptable. Voy a cambiar este.
For the last 21 years, I've been raising a black son in America.
Going back to what de Blasio said, as an African-American man in an African-American dominated community, I knew one of the biggest issues was criminal justice reform.
I look at these proposals and I say, does this hurt my Uncle Dick in his deer stand?
Yeah, that's true.
All right, before we get back into it, I want to thank our sponsor, realestateagentsitrust.com. So, Stu, I think probably, correct me if I'm wrong, finding a real estate agent, the right way to do that is not to find the guy with his face on the back of a bench.
I mean, I think I've heard something like that. Probably not the best idea. Usually things that you sit on don't manage your largest business transaction you'll ever make in your entire life. Perhaps the screening process would be better than the bench process, and that's why Real Estate Agents I Trust exists. I know Glenn went through this because he's had trouble selling homes and he's had issues with real estate agents in the past, and you should make it easy, right? I mean, we do this for a lot of things. This is such a big deal, and we were talking about mortgages and stuff earlier. It's like if you don't have someone who's going to be able to walk you through these sort of complicated transactions that you can actually trust, you're in big trouble. So this makes the whole process easy.
It's one of those things too. Glenn formed this, and I'm like, it's one of those ideas that you're like, why didn't I think of that?
I know.
That's such a great idea.
I know.
Why didn't I think of that? So they've already been vetted. Glenn's team has already vetted these real estate agents to make sure they are the top real estate agents in the country, and they've got them all nationwide. So they have one where you live. Their listeners, their viewers, they share your values. You can go to realestateagentsitrust.com, find one located near you. David, before we move on, I want to play your video, and then we can get to your actual top story. Let's watch David.
La situación ahora es inaceptable. Este presidente ha atacado, ha demonizado los inmigrantes. Es inaceptable. Voy a cambiar este.
What the hell did he just say? Now, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure we're in America.
Necesitamos incluir cada persona.
Then we got Francis. Oh, yeah. Francis O'Rourke. Yeah. Not Beto. No. Not Beto. Not Beethoven. Not Beto. Just Francis. He's talking Spanish too.
Pero si queremos hacer eso, necesitamos incluir cada persona en nuestra democracia.
Do all of these Democrats think that all they got to do is pander to the minorities, try to talk some Spanish? Next, they're going to be coming out with an afro on, trying to talk all ghetto. Americans, aren't you glad we have a real president that's already leading this country and doing an amazing job for all people, all minorities, all of us?
Oh, man, that is funny. That's really funny. And that's from your Instagram.
Yeah.
You've got a longer one on
Instagram.
Twitter people can go to.
Actually, I put the long one. I did that one just for you guys. I put the long one and the on Twitter and Instagram are both a longer version.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So make sure to head over to David's social media to catch the longer version.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about migrant deaths, which take it down a notch.
Well, if we go back to the debates, and you've got all these candidates that are talking about the border and it being such an issue. And Biden, posting a picture of the dad and the daughter that just were found drowned in the Rio Grande, I think, river, and he's blaming it on Trump. And all this massive media hysteria, along with the Democrats and the candidates, are all bashing Trump, like this is something that's brand new.
Yeah.
When it's not brand new. It's been an issue for a decade or longer. But during the Obama-Biden years, there were thousands of deaths. Breitbart reported over 20 times on horrible deaths that had taken place. One county alone in Texas had 535 deaths just in that county during the Obama-Biden years. And so all this, for the people in America, it's like wake up and understand what's really taking place. Mm-hmm. They're trying to demonize Donald Trump and the administration. They're trying to say, oh, this is a brand new issue, when it's not brand new. It's just something the media can get on and try to tug at the heartstrings of American people and try to paint Donald Trump as the bad guy, orange man bad, and we need to get somebody in there to replace him. It's not new. It's been horrible, and Donald Trump's been telling us that we need to fix the border since he's been in office, and they've been stonewalling him at every turn.
Yeah.
So I hope America really pays attention and laughs a lot while they're watching these Democratic debates, because there's a lot to be laughing at in these debates.
I went and talked with some people this morning, asking them, what their thoughts were on Trump's, illegal immigration policy and things of that nature. And so I was asking, we were talking about this yesterday, right? Asking people, what do you think of the president saying, he's going to send illegal immigrant children home and he's going to send them back to where they came from? Do you think it's racist? Knowing that Obama was actually the one who made those comments we played yesterday on the show. But there was one gentleman who actually, he didn't believe me. He thought I was making it up. And I said, I can show you the video. And I had to
believe that
pull out my
Obama was the
phone.
one that said it?
Yeah. I said, would it surprise you to know that was actually Obama that said it? He said, yes, that would surprise me. I don't think that that's true. No, it is.
It shows that Democrats have used the mainstream media to be able to take ownership of the compassionate, side of the argument.
Yes.
And so they can be able to say they're the only ones that care, because the Republicans are the ones that want stronger border security, that are telling people not to come, even though that's really the compassionate take. Mm-hmm. And I think it's something that us as conservatives, we have to be careful about the way we talk about it, to make sure that while we're also pushing forward our policies about the ways to secure the border, we're also making it clear that we do care about migrant deaths. We do look at that picture and we say that's awful, that's terrible. In no way do we feel like that's acceptable, but there's just different methods, and I believe ours is more effective to address that issue. And we can sort of take ownership of the fact that we are compassionate as well. It's not just liberals who are the only ones who care about the life and death situations here.
And I know that, the media has a big role in this, right? I mean, there's hundreds and thousands of migrant deaths under the Obama administration when we were talking there, and they could have taken really heartwarming, heart-wrenching sort of pictures of those things. It's the same thing that happened. You go back to the Clinton administration, and when shooting deaths were much higher than they are today, they could have taken pictures of all of those deaths and trotted them out and made those into things. Instead, they focus on the stuff now because, there's an agenda here. And, I wish it wasn't that way, but it is, flatly. I'd love to come up with some more nuanced explanation, but it really is. There is a motivation behind a lot of these people that, whether it's outward or not, whether it's in their heads, whether it's subconscious, whatever it is, they seem to always find problems with the people who are conservative, and they can never find them with the people that are on the left until they're out of office. Now they can find problems with Bill Clinton. Now they can be critical of Barack Obama's comments in 2014, but at the time they did nothing. Yep. That's just got to change. It's just got to change.
That's why I'm so thankful for you guys.
There we go.
Blaze TV, you guys spit it real. You tell the truth. We can always find it here.
Oh, thank you. All right, back in a minute. Well, we don't like to brag or anything, but that's all true.
I know, but I figured I would brag on you guys.
Come on, guys.
All right, before we go, we've got a birthday in the house.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to Mr. David Harris. We won't ask you how old you are
Thank you.
On
Say it over
camera.
again.
We will not ask you. You thought that I had forgotten about your birthday. I did not forget about your birthday. And in fact, we have a special treat for you coming over here. I would have everyone sing, but I don't think anyone else would sing with me. So we have cupcakes.
Nice.
For all of you who actually eat cupcakes, happy birthday.
Thank you so
from
much.
us here at Blaze TV.
So nice. I got nothing.
On the guest.
Yeah, that's
You're a regular this year's.
And you guys can, I'm sure, eat these cupcakes during overtime, because we've still got overtime coming up next. You can only find it at blazetv.com. Not only do we have News and Why It Matters overtime, but we've also got Steven Crowder, we've got Phil Robertson, we've got Eric Bowling, we have got all of the amazing shows, all on Blaze TV. You got to go there, and you can catch overtime coming up next. Happy birthday!